In this video, we're going to talk about what is cyberpunk. So this is going to be a little bit longer of a video here. I've taken some notes and stuff, so that way hopefully my thoughts stay somewhat organized. I know I can just kind of get to rambling and not make a lot of sense, so I'm going to try and avoid that this time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into things. So the cyberpunk genre itself is like the vision of the dark future. Some of its main features are like high tech, low life. There's things like self-aware AI, super powered replacement limbs and flying cars, just to name a few of the things that this world has. Though in a lot of ways the amazing tech that has been invented in this genre is misused. There's a quote in the game that goes, "The street finds a way." So the people of Night City, especially the people that live in the more dangerous areas, are going to find a way to utilize tech for their own means, whether that's its intended purpose or not. So some of the different topics that this genre really tackles are like world overpopulation, what it means to be human, and the genre itself will usually have like these really odd shifts in power. Maybe not too odd considering the state of things today, but a lot of the big corporations in this genre become what's known as like mega corporations, where they outstrip the power of entire country governments. They have larger privatized militaries, and basically all the rules are just made up by these mega corporations. A lot of people are employed by the mega corporations, and people can basically, they become indentured servants to these different corporations. So the genre itself is pretty damn bleak for the most part, but that also creates interesting little places for telling stories and stuff like that too. So that's why it's such a good role-playing system and makes such a good game. So for example, one of the really classic cyberpunk movies out there is Blade Runner, and in Blade Runner, the main character is tasked with hunting down what's known as replicants. And what replicants are is basically artificial humans that have been tasked with the hard physical labor jobs, stuff that nobody really wants to do, and they're just used as a slave labor force. And in the movie, they basically become self-aware, and they want freedom. They don't want to deal with a lot in life that they've been given. So that's where one of the big themes comes in, what does it really mean to be human? Yeah, they're robots, but they're self-aware. So that's one of the really interesting things about the genre. So the key aesthetics of cyberpunk itself is it's basically the future through the lens of a person that lives in the 1980s. So the clothing styles kind of reflect that, and the culture is a blending of American and Japanese culture in the setting, because at that time, that's when Japan was really coming up as a world economic power, and the thoughts were, oh, it's going to take over the world, things like that. So that's why in the genre of cyberpunk, you see the streets are just drenched in neon, kind of like how Tokyo looks at nighttime. So a lot of people live in mega buildings, kind of like Chinese Kowloon City. It's people living on top of each other, and it's really crowded spaces. So if you've seen the movie Dread, think of the mega building that Dread is going into, and they have to climb up to the top floor and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what everybody lives in, unless you are, an exceptional like edge runner and you've got your own digs, or you're an executive and you work for one of the corporations where you live in a nice building. Then yeah, you probably live in one of these mega buildings with 10 other people that live in the same room with you, or you might even live in like a cargo connex somewhere out in the combat zone. And yeah, what the combat zone is basically, it's a lawless area of the city where the police are kind of afraid to go, and there's bodies laying in the street and crime being committed all the time. Yeah, it's called a combat zone for a reason, because it's basically a war zone 24/7. You don't go there unless you have heavy armor, guns, like you're ready to rock. So, though at times the world of Cyberpunk does seem like it borders on the lines of the movie Idiocracy, if you've ever seen that. It's just like the world is so technologically advanced that nobody has to do anything for themselves. So that basically just breeds this entire culture of brain dead idiots, and everything is just super saturated with advertisements and like just cramming consumer products down your throat. In the cyberpunk world, like the technology levels are so high and the value for life is so low that one of the common things is you can buy like 3D printed handguns on the street out of a vending machine, in case you're like, I don't know, attacked on your way to or from work. You have a way to defend yourself. So it's a little bit ridiculous. And then like people have, all these different cybernetics implanted. So you might have cyber eyes. So you're walking along and you can get like an advertisement flash up in your actual retina, or just different crazy things like that. And due to the overcrowding and overpopulation of the world, it's like nobody really eats real food anymore. It's all this stuff called kibble, which is basically synthetic food, soy this or that. Soy might even be advanced or considered good food in this setting. I can't really tell you. But they have all these different flavor injectors. So you're basically just eating this total bullshit. You get the baseline nutritional value out of it, and that's it. It's fairly tasteless. It's really not very good for you. It's super processed. If you can afford real food at all, like actual meat or vegetables or anything like that, you're definitely a baller. You can afford some shit. Like, you're well off in that case. Like a normal person probably will not eat that stuff very often, maybe a couple times a year for like a special event, something like that. So in the video game and in the tabletop role-playing version of Cyberpunk, you play as what's an edge runner. In the video game, I think they just call him a mercenary, but it's basically, yeah, you're a mercenary. And there's a lot of need for mercenaries in this genre, in this world, because the corporations own everything. And sometimes they need deniable assets. So maybe they need a head scientist kidnapped from the research and development team from a rival company working on the same product that they want to launch. But they need to beat the other company to the punch. That's where the edge runners come in. They'll go to some like seedy bar and hire these guys out. So these executives will go out and hire these edge runners, and that's really where all these cool stories come into play for the cyberpunk genre. Going back to my Blade Runner example earlier, that's kind of what Deckard is. He's a edge runner. Granted, in the movie they call him Blade Runner, but whatever. Same thing. He's doing what the characters in a cyberpunk game would be doing. So another important facet of the genre is, high technology, like I was talking about, and cyberware. Cyberware is extremely important. It can change all kinds of things about a person. For example, if you've seen the movie Elysium, they've got these things called, they're like exoskeletons, and they can help you, if you're in construction, they can help you move a lot of weight. They can, if you're a soldier, they can help you move around weapons that are bigger and heavier than you normally be able to wield, give you a little bit of added protection. things like that. So you've got all these different augments for people that just make them incredible, like superhuman, beings. Maybe you lose your arm in a work accident. Well, the company, if you're a valuable enough worker, they will spot you enough money to get you a nice mechanical arm to replace that. That's probably way stronger than your meat arm ever was. And then you've got the corporate soldiers and stuff like that are going to be all jacked up with cyberware, making them superhuman killing machines to really dissuade people from, messing with the corporations. So guys that can dodge bullets, think of like Neo in the Matrix, or like swordsmen that can pluck bullets out of the air with their swords, or cut bullets in half, or guys that can magnify in on a rifle scope so much that they don't really even need the optic. They're able to just see really far and make super long, precise shots with ease. There's all kinds of things that can be installed into a body to make people superhuman. And then that leads me to my next point, is cyberware is also like a fashion statement. So yeah, you could get some cyberware that looks like normal human body parts, or you could get something like a gold-plated arm or a gold-plated whatever, or have like these LED lights installed under your skin to give you like moving, shifting light tattoos. Or one of the characters in the game, Lizzie Wizzy, is like this idol, really famous singer, and her entire body is like coated in gold plate. So like her skin, her face is all gold, and like different concerts and stuff like that, she'll change out her skin. So maybe one concert she's got gold skin, and then the one after that she's wearing all platinum, or maybe she's studded diamonds into her skin or something crazy like that. So yeah, cyberware also says a lot about who your character is and what their status in the world is. Don't get me wrong, there are nicer parts of the city too, like the executive zones. They have really nice security. The streets are clean-ish, have upper class restaurants, things like that. Not everything is total chaos all the time. And in fact, the total chaos and rampant murders and stuff like that primarily hail from the combat zone. Though if you're a poorer person and you can't afford to pay your rent, then yeah, you're probably going to end up living in the combat zone at one point. And basically everybody's goal that lives in the combat zone is to get out of the combat zone because it's so dangerous. But there are like decent, by Cyberpunk standards, middle class areas as well. So it's not like everything is complete doom and gloom all the time. It's bleak, but not hellfire and brimstone. So I think that pretty well covers everything I wanted to talk about. So good entry points for people to get into the genre if you haven't really done or don't have a lot of experience with the cyberpunk genre. As far as movies go, there's a lot of them. I would highly recommend Blade Runner and the new Blade Runner. They're pretty decent. Dread is a good one with Carl Urban. I really enjoyed that. That kind of gives you a look on like what it's like to live in one of those big mega buildings. The Raid, to a degree, is okay for a cyberpunk movie too, I would say. Obviously The Matrix is a really good series for that. If you like anime at all, Akira is fantastic as far as cyberpunk themes go, and there's even a bike in the video game modeled after the Akira bike. Ghost in the Shell's really good anime as well, and that definitely delves into the themes of like what it means to be human. There's the live action movie as well that has ScarJo in it, which is, it's okay. It's not bad. As far as games go, there's quite a few different games out there. Some of the better ones I would say are probably Deus Ex. The Deus Ex series is really good. I enjoyed those. And you can really get into modifying your character with cyberware in those too, which is cool. Obviously Cyberpunk 2077, you can get into that. There's the Shadowrun series of games you can get off of Steam. The best one of those, I would say, is probably Dragonfall. I really enjoyed that. That's a top-down, like, kind of tactical party-based game, I guess, is how I would best describe it. But yeah, thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or you want me to elaborate on something, please let me know and I'll be more than happy to do that. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.